Dozens of people are about to walk up to our front door right
You
now.
having a party? Yes, and it's
Yes.
very important to my husband.
Oh,
Which shirt? Or maybe this turtleneck?
Office, funeral, person most likely to be murdered.
By his wife?
The house is both the prison and the nest.
You brought the old woman from outside inside?
You can't treat her like she's some grave inconvenience.
And you can't treat her like your next great cause.
Clearly, you're interested in design.
I want you to feel something.
I feel a lot of things. You just don't want to hear about any of them.
My husband is the one who's the brilliant interior designer.
Hi, I'm Paula Benson, founder and editor of Film and Furniture. Today on the Film and Furniture podcast, we explore the gorgeous house and furniture of The Uninvited with the film's writer and director, Nadia Conners, who oversaw every detail of these stunning sets. Set in a house in the Hollywood Hills, The Uninvited unfolds over the course of one eventful evening as Rose, played by Elizabeth Reeser, and Sammy, played by Walton Goggins, who also happens to be Nadia's real-life husband, as they prepare to host a party. Nadia takes us deep into the making of the movie and the layered, eclectic design of the house. This podcast works just as well without visuals, but just so you know, it's a video podcast, so you can watch along for the full experience. Hello, Nadia. Lovely to meet you. Thank you for joining us on the Film and Furniture podcast, and congratulations on The Uninvited.
I didn't know of this podcast, but I will absolutely become a fan because I am also surprised that there isn't more about this. I mean, it really is the texture and the world of the film. It's the tone, it's the vibe, it's the mood, it's the setting that allows it.
Could you give us a quick overview of the story and the plot? And then I'd love to talk to you more about the details of this amazing house. So what is the overview of the story?
So it's about a couple with a young son, and they're getting ready to host a party, and the mom is sort of running around like trying to get the last bits of the house together, and her son has got to go to bed, and the husband is strangely stressed out about something having to do with the party. And with all of this going on, there's a honk of the horn, and Rose, our main female character, runs down to discover that an old woman has shown up, believing that she's returned home. So right before the start of the party, this woman who's lost and they don't know who she is or who she belongs to or where she belongs, enters into their home and will begin to slowly disrupt the way these characters see themselves and see each other. And the outcome is, I don't want to give that away, but that's the main plot. Yeah.
Yeah, great. So it's all set in this one house in the Hollywood Hills. And just to give a bit of context here, Rose is a slightly reluctant mother and homemaker, an ex-actress, and her husband, Sammy, played by her own husband, Walton Goggins, is a talent agent. So there's a little bit of tension between the two of them. And then when the old lady arrives, it increases the tension through their relationship. I guess she is the source of uncovering quite a lot of truths, the old lady. But talking about the house, so it's all set in one evening, the preparation and during the party in this fabulous house. And there's a lot of sincerity in the film and also quite a bit of satire, right? Jokingly about sort of Hollywood lives. But you've been involved in Hollywood, as of course has your husband for many, many years, your husband in front of the camera and you behind. Is there any real experience in the basis of the story and the film?
Yes. It's certainly not autobiographical. And, I was never an actress. My husband is not a talent agent. Obviously, we no longer live there. We live in the Hudson Valley in New York. But, I'm very familiar with the sort of that kind of lifestyle in Hollywood. But to me, the setting was key in order to express certain things that I really wanted to explore as a writer, which was, the nature of aging in an industry that's obsessed with youth. And so I really had to set it in Hollywood. And I also, having been born in Los Angeles and I grew up in Los Angeles, I'm very interested in Los Angeles, like as a literary subject, not Hollywood as a sort of glamorous idea. And so this, to me, it's very important that you see it as a Los Angeles critique and that the Hollywood of it all is a bubble, right? And around them and around this house, and the house is representative of a lot of things, but it's sort of the epitome of a certain wish fulfillment in Hollywood. But right outside the grounds of this house is like the real Los Angeles. It's the traffic and the noise and the this and the that, so there's an understanding that this world that I am depicting is to be looked at, and not necessarily embraced. And the way that I shoot it and the way that we'll talk about that in the set decoration, it's all part of that. Now, yes, so I know that world well. And the other thing that was based in reality was that my husband and I were throwing a party when our son was young, and an old woman showed up believing she had returned home.
Oh, okay. Wow. It's that close to a real experience. Oh,
So
how
that
amazing.
part was very real, and I was writing a play at the time about women who were like isolated mothers, and it was a very avant-garde play. And my personal experience that night of having a party and having an old woman show up and running back and forth, trying to get my son down, trying to figure out where she lives, and the party kind of going on without me, and this like sudden and radical personal connection I had with this complete stranger on the street, really affected me. The play, I scrapped it and completely changed this idea of my way of expressing the sort of disorientation of motherhood in our culture by using like the disorientation of this woman,
Mhm.
her very real and existential crisis, which is like, where does she belong and where does she live versus the sort of identity crisis of the middle-aged, woman, but like by sort of bringing them together,
Mhm.
creating this thing. So that was true. And, the marriage is not our marriage, but so I think the power dynamics that I've recognized in our own marriage for however evolved we are and however like amazing and supportive my husband is, there's like, there are sort of gender roles, and I just never thought that I would fall into that trap,
Mhm.
I've always been a little bit like not really considering my gender in any of the jobs that I've done in my life or, the way that I carry myself in the world. I don't bring with me this idea of like, oh, you're a woman, you can't do that. I am 55 years old, so I definitely grew up in a time where it was still unusual for women to have certain jobs. Now this younger generation are coming into it. It's like women are having all the jobs. I mean, when I wanted to be a director, there was like two female directors like out there. I mean, not always through all time, but in that time period. There is truth to this dynamic, without it being like autobiographical, So I definitely understand this central struggle of that female character. And you used a word early on, you used the word reluctance, you said reluctant mother. And I think that she's not reluctant in the sense that she loves her child, but she doesn't have the tools to sort of like find herself again after that transformative experience of becoming a mother and not knowing how to integrate those different sides of herself. But the reluctance is really clearly there in her hosting this party and her participating. She can't really participate in her life anymore because she knows somewhere deep inside she wouldn't even be invited to the party that she's hosting. She doesn't even belong there anymore herself.
And yet she's the grounding force between everybody. She's
Right.
the strong one in many ways.
Yes. Yes.
The interior design of the house in The Uninvited is a really interesting and eclectic mix of Art Deco, mid-century and contemporary furniture. From Mario Bellini chairs to a mid-century Sputnik chandelier and pendant lights and Danish dining chairs, you can find out exactly what they are and where to find them for your own home, as well as hundreds of items of furniture and decor spotted in film in our marketplace at filmandfurniture.com. Find the links in the description below.
We could talk about the house a little bit and the house as a character, because the house is both the prison and the nest. You know, it's the container for all of the things. And Helen, the older woman, is specifically returning to the house because the house is the place of the greatest moments of her life and also the worst moments of her life, and also just the daily life. You know, it is the place when I think about us as humans. I mean, in the play version, there was even a monologue about this that would never have made it into a movie. It is the place where we experience being alive, is our home, however small or big or whatever. Like, this is the structure that will be there when we're gone, that was there before we were there. And Helen has even a line about that. You know, I was here before you and I will be here, you know, after, you know, and she is, in a way, she's time herself. Like, she is time. The house is the third dimensional object through which time passes. And the characters are all in different iterations of a singular life.
And just like that, there she is. The switch she can flip in an instant.
Who are you? How did you get here?
Maybe she's a ghost.
She's a witch. Do you see me?
Yes, Helen, I see you.
The past and the future are both delusions.
Was this all a dream?
You know, the young ingenue, the middle-aged actress that's out of work, and then the older actress who did it in another life, you know, and even has a different stage name, you know. They're all parts of this thing through time. So the house was incredibly important that it be claustrophobic, but also nurturing, but aspirational, but also empty, you know? And so it had to function in all these different ways, you know? And the adaptation of the play into a film, I used the architecture of the house to create these moments, like you can see, like in the alcove, in the bathroom, in the closet. These are all mini stages, like perfectly lit and designed, you know? Supposed to be like little jewel boxes, almost like a diorama of domestic life. Like, I call it beautiful surveillance.
Yeah, you mentioned diorama there, and you begin the film by these sort of mini diorama tableaus, vignettes.
Yes.
And I instantly knew it was going to be a film I loved as soon as I saw these beautiful still lives. And I was trying to read into it a little bit.
Please do.
Are there any metaphors in this? So we open with this.
Yes. I mean, you're the only person that's asked me about it. And so, you know, Vanitas paintings, you know, 16th century Dutch, maybe even 15th century. And it was a flower, an orange just being peeled, a candle that had just been snuffed out, often a skull, maybe like an instrument, like a compass, you know? And it was all about this, like, and the perfection, like the photorealism of that, right? But what it's about is about this, in a way, like the hubris of man. Like, yes, look what you've done. You can capture life. You even, like, you can capture the technology that you've created, like in that time period, like the compass or something like that. You could even show like the passing of time. The candle has just been snuffed out, but you too will die. And the skull is there. So remember your death.
So you open with this tableau vignette, whatever we're calling it, with
Vanitas tableaus. Yes.
A green vase with some flowers in it.
Which are actually not alive.
Yes.
sculptural flowers. There's an
Yeah.
hourglass where
Yes.
the time is out.
Yes.
I mean, honestly, I'm so excited that you're talking about this because that was a very intentional thing.
And then we
And
moved to,
the table of food,
yeah, yeah,
so
amazing,
the
amazing.
feast,
And then the piano with the clock,
piano,
time
with the
passing.
clock, which will be key to the final scene.
Yeah. So beautiful shots and, the kinds of shots that you just want to linger over. So I thought it was a beautiful intro to the house, to the characters, to the people. And you immediately know they're very stylish people. So the house itself, how did you choose the house?
We had looked at a lot of different places, and as like I said, we shot this movie in 15 days for under $1 million. So
Hmm.
a lot of these kinds of movies would have used three different houses,
Hmm.
and then an exterior yet again somewhere else, and then a street scene somewhere else. This
Hmm.
was all done in the exact same place. So to find a place that was able to have all of these things and also that we could afford to dress. And so this house was a house that I had been to parties at, and it was
Hey.
dear friend's house who they moved during COVID back to Sweden. And I said, hey, do you think we can rent your house for a movie? Which is like crazy. Nobody says yes to that. And we took out all of their furniture and dressed it, but they had all the bones, everything was right. I mean, we did use some of their furniture, absolutely, and then changed other parts of, the furniture. And wildly, when we began prep on the film, I stayed in the house and the cinematographer stayed in the house. So we were like living on the sets. So there was this very strange, intimate quality of like understanding this house and really spending time in all the nooks and crannies and finding this the color of the walls, like I was always really worried about that because we were originally going to shoot on film. And because it's just death to content and story to shoot, people on digital talking in a white room.
Hmm.
It's like there's no feeling. And the DP, when we realized we couldn't shoot on film, he was like, don't worry, you know, our gaffer, we're going to light this and you're not going to know it's not been shot on film. And they achieved so much creamy depth in the walls. It was extraordinary. And as I said, like we were living in this location before we started shooting, and I got to watch them day in and day out, just testing the lighting on the walls and testing like how they were going to like create this feeling. And the interiors were always supposed to have this like creamy, it's like black, brown, white, beige, cream. You get to the child's room
Mm.
and it's full of life,
Mm.
joy, and play. And she's really able to express herself, through her story that she tells him that is in like the framework of his room, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And there's a very quick shot in her room when she walks by, you see there's um, wallpaper that she hasn't picked yet for her
Oh,
room.
okay. Missed
And
that.
yeah. And she can't figure out who she is, but she can figure out who her kid is.
Uh-huh.
Everything else is sort of a blank canvas, but while still being beautiful, but it's just not totally imbued with like her personality in it. And then one of my absolute favorite shots in the whole movie having to do with anything, but it's also perfect for your podcast is when she changes out of her first non-outfit into an outfit, it's almost unrecognizable, like it's another creamy dress. But this one has a pattern of roses on it. And in her closet, there is also this diaphanous material that is like kind of a screen that when she leans out the window to look at the party that she's yet to join, there's this brief shot, which I can send you, where she disappears because her dress is the same as the curtains.
Mm-hmm.
That whole thing was designed to show how she'd been absorbed by the house. And then, her and Helen, the old woman, at one point look like they're wearing the same sweater. And when they're on the couch, the Mario Bellini couch in the living room, they also look like they're sort of being taken into the couch. And it isn't until she sort of wakes up and realizes I'm going out to that party, and she puts on this dress that is so diametrically opposed to the interior design of the house. And it speaks to the dress that I, came up with Donna Lisa, the costume designer. What would she wear when she finally goes to the party? And I said I wanted her to, it's like to, she's coming from her past. She's actually not going to the party as her present self, but she's going to the party as the person still telling the stories from the past. She's still like working out her like older persona, and that old persona was this theater actress. And so I wanted her to
Red
be
velvet.
what?
Red velvet. I've got it. Yeah.
She's wearing theater curtains.
OMG. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yes. So we designed a sexy dress out of theater curtains.
Yeah, all those details. Thank you for sharing all those. And let me just tell you, they did not get missed over here. Yeah, really beautiful details. And I love the styling of the house. It's very eclectic. It's a really gorgeous mix of a bit of mid-century, a bit of Art Deco in her dressing room. There's that 1920s Art Deco, I think, dressing table in walnut. And then you've got mid-century lights. And I think you just catch a glimpse of a dining room with some Arnie Jacobsen Dutch series
Absolutely.
chair.
Yeah.
And then the kitchen has got this beautiful sort of wooden table in the middle of it that feels very textured. There's a lot of texture in the house, which I think is beautiful. And if you say, the DOP and cinematography, the way you've lit it, it feels very textured, and it gives a real depth to the feeling and emotion as well as to the look. So I thought that was done beautifully.
Yeah, the thing I wanted to say about the kitchen and the wood block, I mean, that came with the house. I mean, our friends who own that house are Swedish, and so there are these like so many great gems in there from their, they have this taste. The Arne Jacobsen chairs were theirs, but one of the most amazing things to me about the house and like talking about the kitchen was that they had cut that wall out. And because of that, it was almost like how you could have shot a kitchen on a soundstage, because there was no fourth wall. Like, had those walls been there, that I wouldn't have been able to do those shots of like the couple running in and out of the kitchen, arguing with each other about trying to figure out how to get this woman out of the bathroom, right? So I was just able to set up a camera and do the entire thing in one shot, like a close-up play, because you don't usually get, and that was so one of the things about this house that was so amazing and made it possible to do the film this way, was that it did have these kind of vignettes like built into it.
And I saw that your own house was actually an architectural digest recently. Are you a keen interior designer yourself?
I love design. I'm yes, I'm a writer, but I'm also a filmmaker and everything. I also paint, and I studied photography, and everything about this filmmaking world is obviously visual. But my husband is the one who's the brilliant interior designer, and he and I share the same taste, but his capacity to like find the exact right lamp, and he spends so much time like scouring the internet or like antique flea markets or whatever. I mean, he's literally a genius when it comes to this. And I can arrange something in a room and I think it's pretty cool. And he comes in and it's like, and then it's so much better. So like my hat's off to him, like his ability to, like he could literally be an interior decorator.
It takes a lot of patience, doesn't it, searching for those things? Because you might have an idea in your head of what you want, but you can never find it when you need it. So you've got to be sort of alert all the time, haven't you?
And that's exactly right. And that's like what, like this like key moment in our house. It's like my favorite visual moment in the house. Like he like suddenly found that these couches were for sale, like an 8-hour drive from here, and he left at 4 o'clock in the morning and went and got them. Like I would never do that. Like
Perfect partner.
For couches.
Amazing. And the coming back to the house in the Uninvited, I love this sense that you've got these kind of modernist sofas and then quite a traditional sofa and the piano and then this incredible fireplace in that house. Is it a Spanish revival house? Is that what you?
Yeah, it is. And the fireplace was also like I had to find a house that had the fireplace that was, that I could. There was something that the house needed to feel like we could have been in the 1930s, and that this could have easily been in the 1950s. And it had to have this timeless feeling, like it wasn't completely remade in some horrible sort of shiny counter Kardashian way, I don't want to like throw them under the bus for no reason, but that reality show look,
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very layered and very beautiful.
Everything was thought through. Every shot, every scene, every shadow, every, costume design, that there is real depth here. And there's an attempt to look at our life and the life that you create that you think is forever. And really, it's just going to be dust, in a rock somewhere.
Well, I think, that's incredibly philosophical. And I think, the idea of the subtleties of the nuances of the story and the look and the house and the characters and the acting, of course, I think, it's quite a difficult thing to achieve, really, isn't it? Which is a satirical, mocking these kind of characters, and yet also you've brought some real subtleties and sophistication, and you find yourself warming very much to all the characters. So I'd like to congratulate you. I can't believe it's your first narrative feature. And thank you for allowing us to have a look around your friend's house in the Hollywood Hills, and that you got to live there. Amazing. So thank you for sharing all those details with us.
Please let me know. I can't wait to see it, and I'm going to check out the rest of your podcast.
Yeah, please do. And the website is full of features where we discuss all the details. And I'd just like to give you the award for the most interesting background to an interview. Loving it.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much, Nadia.
Thank you.
Again. I hope to speak to you again because I love your eye.
Thank you. Well, I'm around. Hopefully I'll have another movie that we can talk about.
Please, I'm going to visit the next set, okay?
Okay, great. Well,
thank you.
Okay,
thank
you.
Paula.
Thanks,
Bye,
Alex.
Paula.
Cheers. Bye.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that insightful chat. You can take a look at our in-depth feature and film set images at filmandfurniture.com, where you'll find many fascinating articles on interiors, furniture, decor and lighting in film, as well as where to find these items for your own home. That's all in our marketplace. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.